Chicago, winter of 1923. The sky was wrapped in white fog and dim streetlights flickered over the snowy sidewalks. On Clark Street, one lonely barbershop still had its lights on, though it was well past midnight. No customers. No sound of scissors. Just a man standing outside quietly smoking. He knocked on the door. 3 times, a short pause, then once more. It was a code only the underground knew. A small peephole slid open. From the darkness, a sharp pair of eyes scanned his leather shoes, reading, judging. Then the door creaked open and a rush of heat hit his face. Smoke, whiskey, perfume, and rotting wood. He stepped inside. The hallway was narrow, the lighting dim and yellow. Peeling wallpaper lined the walls. The faint sound of jazz curled through the air, a distant trumpet, haunting and sweet, leading him deeper. The door at the far end opened. A different world was waiting. There was no sign, no police, but beneath the city life was roaring. A live jazz band played in the corner. A black woman in a red dress stood under a warm spotlight singing, "It Had to Be You." Every note slid across the room like warm syrup, seeping into glasses, into ears, into hearts. Whiskey flowed from unlabeled bottles, rich, sharp, smuggled across the Canadian border and never watered down. The center tables were filled with well-dressed men, 3-piece suits, polished shoes, tilted fedoras. Some laughed loud over cigars, others flirted in whispers with flappers, who smiled behind red lips and heavy lashes. In the far west corner sat the mob. Rudy the knife was there, scar on his chin, Cuban cigar in hand. His eyes didn't blink often. Anyone who laughed too loud near that table might not get a second chance. At the far end near the wooden stairs sat a man in a long coat and lowered hat. He didn't drink, didn't smoke. In front of him sat a small wooden box with a golden lock. Another man approached, younger, thinner, pale lips, black coat, no handshake, no names, just a nod. The box clicked open with a tiny silver key. Inside, a folded sheet of paper, 5 names typed neatly. One of them was the undercover FBI agent currently serving drinks behind the bar. An envelope thick with cash slid across the table. A glass of whiskey followed, placed on top like a silent agreement. Both men stood and left. No one looked. No one asked. Then a gunshot cracked upstairs, sharp, fast, cold. The music paused for half a beat, then resumed as if nothing happened. Lou was found slumped in the upstairs restroom, a single bullet to the temple. In his hand, a note, "Talk too much, die too soon." Lou had been dealing whiskey to both sides, a middleman with a loose tongue. No one cried, no one called the cops. A woman who once slept with him lit a cigarette, took a long drag, and returned to her table without a word. Police arrived 10 minutes later. The back door was already shut. The blood was gone. The speakeasy was silent, polished, spotless. Lou disappeared, the way most men do here, into a place that pretends he was never born. By the time you step outside, the sun is rising. The snow is deeper now. The city is quiet, cold, and clean, like nothing ever happened. You can't remember the singer's face or how many glasses you had. Just that one last sip, bitter and warm, made you feel more alive than anything else this week. Tomorrow, Prohibition will still rule. Preachers will still curse liquor in churches. But tonight, behind a dozen hidden doors under Chicago, people are still drinking, still dancing, still surviving. In places where names aren't asked, where pleasure is traded in whispers, and freedom only lasts until the next knock at the door. From my place behind the bar, I watched. In a place like this, The quietest man in the room is usually the most dangerous. The guy at table 3, no drink, no smile, just watching. His eyes slid over the crowd like he was taking inventory. I knew him. A former private investigator, used to work both sides, mob and law. He made his living on secrets, and one day he'd die because of one. Near the front sat 2 old men in tuxedos, looked like businessmen. They weren't. They once smuggled weapons during a war. Now, top-shelf liquor suppliers. I kept polishing a glass like I wasn't paying attention, but my hand stayed near the towel-wrapped pistol under the bar. In this place, death doesn't knock before it walks in. Table 7 had strangers tonight. A man in his 50s, white shirt, no tie, sad eyes. Next to him sat a younger man, maybe 22. They didn't belong here, not because of how they looked, but because of how they looked at each other. No whiskey, just sweet liqueur, fingers brushed, then pulled back fast. I knew that look, love, forced to hide. In 1923 Chicago, that kind of touch could get you beaten or worse. But here, in this speakeasy, what was forbidden above ground was quietly allowed below. I slid them a second drink, no charge, no words exchanged. For a moment, I wasn't a bartender. I was a witness to something soft, fragile, and trying its best to survive. Most people don't know, but I remember. This basement, it used to be a Catholic church's wine cellar. Vaulted ceilings, old brick, damp stone, mold in the wood. After Prohibition, the church closed. The priest vanished. A month later, the lights came back on. Not for mass, but for vice. We left the architecture mostly untouched, partly out of respect, mostly because cops don't raid holy ruins. But the past still echoes. A crucifix hangs behind the bar, upside down. The old confessional is now a cigar locker. Once, drunk and bold, I asked Rudy, "Don't you feel cursed?" He grinned. "Only God knows, and I know how to survive." The doorman's name is Malone, 60-something, one wooden leg, one bad eye. Looks like a veteran, because he is. Malone used to be a cop, took down bootleggers, lost partners in crossfire, until he arrested the wrong man, a senator's son, and the department chewed him up and spit him out. Now he stands guard for the very people he once swore to destroy. But no one disrespects Malone. He doesn't need a gun, just one look, and trouble turns around. He rarely talks, but one night I heard him mutter, "I don't work here for the money. I stay so nobody else dies for some damn law that never cared." I wipe glasses, I pour drinks, I listen. Most folks forget I'm here, and I like it that way. But here's the truth. I know every name in this room. I know who killed Lou. I know who the feds planted. I know the singer upstairs lost her baby in that filthy upstairs bathroom after falling for a made man. I know more than I want to, and yet I stay. Because I'm not just a bartender. I'm the keeper of the memories that history never wrote down. If the cops bust in tomorrow, if the headlines scream scandal, if the speakeasy burns to the ground, This story will still live, and tonight I'll tell it to you, if you're willing to listen. He always came in after midnight. Tall, sharp suit, clean shave, never took off his coat, never looked anyone in the eye. The regulars called him Mr. No Shadow, because no matter where he stood, he seemed to leave no trace behind. He sat at table 9, always alone, always listening. Never drank more than 1 glass, but he paid double. Rudy once said that man's worth 5 bodies, maybe 6. I asked why. Rudy didn't blink. Because he doesn't speak unless someone's about to disappear. Some said he was a hitman. Others whispered undercover treasury agent. Me, I think he was both. And the night Lou died, Mr. No Shadow left 10 minutes earlier with clean hands but eyes colder than death. There's a room in the back behind a locked red-painted door. No music reaches it, no laughter echoes, just whispers, just deals. They called it the Red Room. You don't get invited there, you're chosen, usually when you've broken a rule or are about to. One night, the Red Room lit up for over an hour. When the door opened, a man walked out smiling. Next day he was found floating in the river, teeth pulled, hands missing. That's how Rudy sent messages. Smile first, suffer later. I've never been inside. I don't want to be, but I remember who does go in and who never comes back. The speakeasy had rules. Not posted, not spoken, but followed, always. Don't ask questions. Don't look too long. Don't bring the law, ever. Break 1, and Malone might just escort you out. Break 2, and Rudy's men will notice. Break 3, and the Red Room becomes your final destination. People think underground bars are chaos. They're wrong. Down here, rules are stricter than the ones up top, because the price of breaking them isn't a ticket, it's a body. And yet, people still came, every night, because sometimes structure is the only way to survive in the dark. She was called Violet. No last name, just a soft smile and a limp in her left leg. Some thought she was a war widow. Others said she was a runaway preacher's daughter. But the truth, she used to work for the police, helped them map every speakeasy in the city, until one night she got caught by Rudy's men. Instead of killing her, they let her live, but only after making her watch what happens when you snitch. She stayed ever since. Now she smokes by the hallway, counts cash for the bar, and never says more than 6 words to anyone. But once, when I passed her a glass of gin, she looked at me and whispered, "We all die down here. Some of us just wait longer." That night felt different. Malone double-checked the door. Violet didn't smile. Even the jazz band played slower, like they sensed something coming. Mr. No Shadow wasn't in his usual spot. Rudy was late, and the man at the bar, the one with the silver lighter, kept glancing at the exit every 10 seconds. Then the door creaked open, and a man walked in, trench coat, soaked, eyes red, like he hadn't slept in weeks. In his coat pocket, we later found a recording device, hidden mic, government issued. He had come to end the speakeasy, but he didn't make it past the hallway. Someone knew, and someone whispered just loud enough, "No one leaves clean tonight." He sat at the bar and ordered nothing. Didn't take off his coat, didn't remove his gloves, just sat there, breathing. I'd seen that look before. A man who came in not to drink, not to talk, but to destroy something. Violet saw him too. She dropped a bottle. Glass shattered. First time I ever saw her hand shake. "That's Cal Bannister," she said under her breath. "He used to run the East Docks until Rudy took them. He was supposed to be dead. Shot in the chest, burned in a car fire. But he wasn't. He was back. And from the way he looked at the room like he was counting ghosts, we all knew he hadn't come for closure. He'd come to finish something. It started with a match. The man with the silver lighter, the one watching the door all night, flicked it once, then again, then dropped it almost on purpose. It hit a trail of bootleg whiskey. Not a full fire, not yet. Just a tongue of flame snaking across the floor, toward the back hallway. I shouted. Malone moved fast, but not fast enough. The music stopped. The smoke started. And then the first shot rang out. People ducked, screamed, scrambled toward exits that didn't exist. Tables flipped, bottles shattered, and someone, I still don't know who, threw a chair through the stage light. It went dark, not dim, pitch black. That's when real hell began. In the dark, there are no friends. Someone grabbed my collar. I elbowed back. Gunfire barked from the back. I heard Malone shout once, then silence. A woman screamed, but it didn't sound afraid. It sounded furious. I crawled across broken glass, reached behind the bar, pulled my pistol. I didn't want to use it, but I couldn't die on my knees either. A body landed next to me, heavy, warm, violet. No, just some drunk from table 5, shot through the neck. I stayed low, focused on breathing, prayed someone would turn the lights back on. But down here, underground, light isn't always salvation. Sometimes, it just shows you how many bodies are on the floor. Amid the smoke and gunshots, I heard it. A voice. Low, steady, familiar. "This place was never yours," it said. "You just borrowed it from the dead." It was Cal Bannister. He wasn't yelling. He was narrating. Rudy's men answered with bullets.
But Cal moved like a ghost. He didn't run. He didn't flinch. One by one, I heard them fall. By the time the emergency lights flickered on, only 5 of us were standing. Me, Violet, bleeding from her side, Rudy, coughing blood, leaning on the piano, the jazz singer still clutching her microphone like a cross, and Cal, standing by the door, untouched. He looked around, then simply said, "Tell them the party's over." Then he vanished, like smoke out a cracked window. By morning, the speakeasy was gone. The fire didn't consume it all, just enough to make the city forget. The headlines called it an accident, No one mentioned the bodies. No one named the dead. Rudy disappeared. So did the jazz singer. Violet was taken in by a nurse she once helped hide during a raid. Malone, they never found him. Me? I still tell this story. Not because I want to. Because I have to. Because someone should remember that underneath Chicago, beneath the law and the lies and the laughter, there was a place where people came to live for a few stolen hours. And sometimes that was the only living they ever did.